Wendy and I are members of Flintshire U3A, the University of the Third Age. It's a movement where like-minded older people meet up in groups to pursue common interests and learning. The movement's worldwide and growing, and Flintshire U3A has a membership that runs into hundreds and over 60 groups, from A for art to W for writing, walking, Welsh, wood turning and wine appreciation. There's even a grumpy old men's group, but I don't think I'm ready for that yet. Now, throughout the year there are open meetings with speakers, always very well attended and always on fascinating topics. Now, one such presentation by local man Philip Harrison intrigued me so much I wanted to share it with you, and he agreed to talk to me. Philip was the architect of an iconic local building, dominating the skyline, and in our chat he charted how he got the job and the opening of the building, the culmination of his 5 years' work. The music should give you a clue. Now, Philip, I'm going to take you back something like 50 years. That's an awfully long time, isn't it? To the time when you were a young architect setting out on a very, what turned out to be a unique and illustrious project. But we're going to start off with you walking through Soho. So how did you get to Soho and what were you doing there?
Well, I was in Soho because I was on my way to my very first interview for a job. I'd recently qualified at Leeds University as an architect. It occurred to me that the best jobs are always in London, and therefore I deserted the north, went to London. I think about 9 interviews lined up, and I was walking to my first interview through Soho when I noticed a rather nicely restored Georgian building. I crossed the road to look at the name of the firm who had restored it, and to my surprise it was Frederick Gibbon Partners Architects. Now, they were the firm who had recently won the competition to design a new Catholic cathedral in Liverpool. I looked down the rather impressive hallway, lovely polished floor, pictures on the walls, and at the end of the long polished hallway there was a reception desk with a very elegant pair of legs protruding from beneath the desk.
Always an attraction.
Always an attraction. And above the desk was an equally elegant top half. And so I decided I would go in and ask if there were any jobs going at this firm of architects. And to my surprise, there were. Whilst I was being a hack draftsman, I was actually based in the drawing office where the cathedral drawings were being prepared. I mentioned that the firm had already won the competition for the cathedral, and so I was working on the cathedral design. There were a team of about 10 of us working away on the building, working up the design, and also working out once in a while. And he said, "I'll think about it, Philip." And then, anyway, the morning after, the telephone went and sent Philip up. So I went upstairs with some trepidation. And he said, "Right, about this practical experience, I want to go up to Liverpool and take over the cathedral," which was a bit of a bombshell, to say the least, a baptism of fire.
Wow.
I think I was 26 at the time, and this was one of the most controversial buildings, not only in Britain, but in the ecclesiastical world generally.
Well, the building was obviously fairly close to completion by now, Philip, and we're moving towards the actual opening and consecration of the building itself. But what happened just before that?
Yes, there was another very interesting story, Trevor. As you say, just before the official opening of the building, we were told by the Cathedral Authorities that there would be a private ceremony of consecration happening on one particular afternoon. It wasn't necessary for any of the workforce to stop what they were doing. which was polishing the floors and the pews and just generally cleaning the whole place up. I happened to be with a joiner friend of mine near the organ console, and the whole of the cathedral was full of men working away with all the noise that entailed. Up till that time, this had been just like any other building site, with all the noise, the banging, and I must admit the language that you get on building sites.
Even if it's a cathedral.
Even if it's a cathedral. And as I was talking to this joiner who was doing some work, as I say, on the organ, screen around the organ console, I became aware of some beautiful singing going on, coming from the direction of the entrance porch. It was Gregorian chant. And I looked up and saw a little procession coming in of about, 6 people or so, all robed in white. And there was a thurifer leading it, swinging an incense, swinging incense, and then 2 acolytes, I think you call them, carrying tall candles, and then a priest who was actually scattering water onto the fabric, and they paraded all the way around the perimeter of the building. Now, I'm not a Roman Catholic. I've got to admit that this is one of the most moving moments I've ever experienced in my life, because as that procession went round the building, all the noise stopped, and without exception, every one of the men who were doing things in the nave there went and sat down somewhere, and the hard hats came off, the hard crash hats came off, and the building changed. This profound change came about it. It stopped being a building site, and from that moment it became a church, a cathedral. In fact, I was so moved by this that it just brought tears to my eyes, and I had to get out of the way, away from my friend the joiner. I went up to one of the television galleries, 2 television galleries at a high level, and I literally cried because of this incredibly moving experience. And I've never experienced anything quite like that. It was very, very profound. I'm very, very proud to have been involved with the building. It was a controversial, and still is a controversial, but I think it's probably one of the most famous and iconic buildings in Liverpool now.
Well, you must be very proud to have been involved with it. And thank you for telling us all about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't thank Philip enough for telling me his story. I shall view Paddy's Wigwam in Liverpool in a new light from now on.